Good afternoon. This is Animal Uncontrol. Welcome to MuttHeads. Today's topic is breed-specific legislation, often referred to as BSL. Again, I'm going to blog this, and you can follow along. I'm going to call this breed-specific lunacy because, thanks to dog lovers, that's what this has turned into. So first, what is it? What does breed-specific legislation mean? Well, what it does is it is a law, or perhaps a set of laws that pertain to specific breeds of a domestic animal. So, for example, if I were to ban Clydesdale horses, but not other horse breeds, that would be breed-specific legislation. Okay? So this law pertains, or these laws pertain specifically to certain breeds of animals. Okay? So they're discriminatory, perhaps in a good way. Now, what that could mean is that could mean an outright ban or milder restrictions such as insurance requirements, housing requirements, or containment requirements, muzzling in public, and so forth. Okay? That's what it means. So, now, when we say animal in this context, what are we really talking about? Again, we're talking about dogs. Nobody cares about horses. Okay? So we are contemplating doggy BSL here. Now, what kind of dogs are we usually contemplating? Well, typically that means restrictions on pit bulls or similar that create a disproportionate amount of carnage, okay, injuring and killing humans and other animals. Now, in theory, BSL is a no-brainer, okay? And again, I'm talking about doggy BSL. We're not talking about breeds of rabbits, okay? And I say that because these type of restrictions are imposed by, local governments, and I'm mainly talking the United States. That's the only legal system to which I can speak all the time. Consider, and I wrote about this, actually the first time I wrote about it was 2012, like 9.5 years ago. And I raised this because Miami-Dade, Florida, Miami is in Dade County, implemented a pit bull ban in 1989. Starting in the 2000s, that became basically a huge target for pit bull aficionados and other doggy activists who claimed that it was racist, bigoted, discriminatory, oppressive, Nazism, and so forth. So in 2012, and again, this was right about the time I started blogging, they had a ballot question was added to the ballot in that jurisdiction, in that election cycle, essentially asking the public, do you want to keep this ban in place or not? You also have to consider that Florida is a preemption state, and I'll get to what that is in a minute. Now, the Miami electorate voted 63% to keep the ban. And this was after basically a massive onslaught of pro-Pitbull and essentially general doggy-like propaganda. I figure it probably would have been a lot higher than this if the coverage had been fair and reasonable. Now, in regards to all the objections, again, claims that it was not constitutional. Restricting a dog breed in a residential area is, fascist, again, racist, unconstitutional. And I don't know if I was the first person to connect these dots or not, but I said, face it. Zoning restrictions of the sort indicated affects all sort of potential pet owners. Okay, consider how zoning in the United States works. Most counties are broken up into zones. So you have residential zones, commercial zones, industrial zones, rural zones, agricultural zones, and so forth. Typically, pretty much all large animals, except for dogs, are zoned out. That's why in my county, I can have this. Take a look at that. I can have this, but not this, because this is a zoned out farm animal. I would be restricted from keeping this. Okay? Now, however, I could have this. Look at that creature. That's like something out of a horror movie. So this is allowed, this is not, okay? Why? Because the entire system is rigged in favor of dogs. Now, if you consider more popular pets, people like to raise cats. Again, there's no limit on the size of dog you can have in most places. So this Maine Coon, this is the largest cat I can own without either a zoo permit or a special variance. So this is legal, but that's about as far as I can take it. Not just here, but in most jurisdictions. Now, something like this in a common sense world where we hadn't all been brainwashed in doggy propaganda would be a no-brainer. Why is this the largest cat I can have? Because dogs have political capital and cats do not. That is why. Okay? Now, many states have what are called preemption laws. This is a map of the United States. What a preemption law means is that the state government prevents jurisdictions from zoning out certain dog breeds or specific dog breeds. So essentially, it's a ban on bans. Now, if you look at this, it's a color-coded map. The orange states have preemption, and the green states allow local control. Now, Florida was interesting because when Florida implemented preemption in the 1990s, jurisdictions that already had these bans were allowed to keep them. Now, that has not stopped doggy activists from trying to back out the Florida ban. In fact, they did it in 2012 and failed, and they have done it again this year, just recently, just this month. Senate bill, I believe it was 614, but don't quote me on that, was moved through the Florida Senate with a goal of, again, eliminating whatever local bans remained. That measure failed. So Miami gets to keep their ban. Okay? So, but you look at these states, okay? So some states like, Alabama, you can, if your towns and counties can ban them. It's true in Oregon. However, most of these northeastern states, you have to allow pit bulls and all other dog breeds by state law. Now, some people want to federalize this. They say the federal government needs to intervene to fix this. I think that's a bad idea. It's a bad idea because the federal government has already screwed us on these doggy laws, particularly the service animal provision of the ADA. The federal government overrode the rules set by all these local health departments that said you can't bring dogs or any other animals into establishments that serve food. The feds came in and said, if the dog's got a vest, you got to let him in. I'm oversimplifying, but it was done in the honor system, so that was imposed upon us by the federal government. I believe if this were to be federalized, under the current zeitgeist, again, the current prevailing cultural attitude, we would more likely wind up with nationwide preemption, meaning you can't ban pit bulls or any other dog breed anywhere. You can ban this, but not this, okay? You must allow this. Their narrative is that it's unfair discrimination, it's racist, it's oppressive, it's bigotry, it's unconstitutional, it's Nazism. So that's why we have all these problems. Now, in terms of localities that have it, this is from pitbullinfo.org. It's always good to keep up with what the enemy is talking about. These are cities and towns that have repealed bans or BSL since 2018. Look at this list. It's 65 counties across the United States. BSL has been repealed. These are not good numbers. Why is this so difficult? Why can't we do this? I believe that dog culture itself is to blame. One interesting aspect of this is many BSL activists are actually dog lovers. Now you think, why would a dog lover want to ban pit bulls? Don't they love all dogs? That's very interesting. I know that their reasoning is that pit bulls are the number one canine killer of other dogs. They're the number one canine killer of everything, including other dogs. And they have lesser reasons, such as they're ugly, their pedigree is terrible, they're owned by lowlifes. That's not what I believe. That's what they believe, okay? Now, you dog lovers own this problem. The reason this is so difficult to solve, again, the reason that we are stuck with this in our neighborhoods and not this, the reason that you can have any dog you want, but with cats you're limited to this, it's because you people have been brainwashing everyone in dogs first propaganda for 50, 60 years. You have rigged the system in favor of Fido. You have made this problem virtually impossible to solve. Okay? So, yes, perhaps it's unfortunate that you can't walk Fluffy because your neighborhood is swarming with pit bulls that want to eat him. Again, realize you dog lovers, created this monster, literally and figuratively, and turned it loose on all of us. That is why we are stuck with this. That is why this problem is so difficult to solve. Now, what is the solution? The solution is not more laws, at least not at this time. Okay, look at this map, and probably more of these states are going to turn orange, particularly as dog culture is foisted on everybody. This does not look encouraging either. This does not inspire confidence. Okay, why is there so much political support for this? Again, it's because of dogs first attitudes infused in the culture. What needs to change is Fido's status needs to be reduced to something reasonable. He needs to be knocked off his pedestal as a sacred animal and treated like everything else with four legs. And when that happens, then we can deal with this. Then this is a problem that can be solved. Think about it. This is animal uncontrol, and as always, people first.